Head coach of South Carolina, Shane Beamer, joining us right now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Coach, how's it going?
It's going well. Hope things are going well out there for you guys, and appreciate you having me on today.
We appreciate you taking the time, Coach, and I would say to answer your first question, it's certainly going well. When I tell you that, and my co-host Micheal Bumpus will attest to this, when I tell you almost every day leading into the draft, we had someone, this is up here in the Pacific Northwest, at least one person texting in saying, Nick Emmanwori, take him. He was a local favorite for so many mock drafts, and I did not expect Seattle to get him. Were you surprised to see him, I guess, not just, go in the second, but were you surprised to see how many people were so high on him as a prospect?
No, because one, I saw it for 3 years here at South Carolina, what he did during his time here. Two, I know the type of young man he is. And then three, once he went to the combine and did what he did in Indianapolis, everything really took off. But based on the number of calls I was receiving from NFL teams leading up to the draft about Nick, it wasn't going to surprise me anywhere that he went, but really excited for him to end up out there and somewhere that I know he's excited about also.
Hey, Coach, I would assume, I coach at the high school level, not on your level, but one of the things I love about it is just watching how these young men develop as football players and as men. What was he like when you first got him in, and how has he grown over the past 3 years?
Yeah, he's still young in so many ways, and that's what's great about Nick is his upside. He's only been in college for 3 years and then declared early for the draft, but he's a guy, he's from – right here in Columbia, South Carolina. He went to high school about 20 minutes from our football stadium. And first time we ever really saw him was in summer camp going into his senior year, where high school teams and middle school kids will come to camp and work and learn. And we saw him in camp. He's a guy that, like a lot of kids in this year's draft, they were, right in the middle of COVID. So COVID was his sophomore year, I guess, and then his senior year would have been 2021. So he probably got overlooked in some ways in the recruiting process because coaches weren't going out on the road recruiting because of COVID and everything being shut down. So we really first laid eyes on him in the summer before his senior year. He came to our camp, and he was just absolutely freakish from an athletic standpoint, and we weren't really sure what he was going to play. Linebacker, defensive back. We just knew he was something, and we needed to get him in our program. And he's a guy that by game 2, he was starting for us in his career, and then just continued to get better overall as a player with all aspects of playing defensive back.
What's he like as a person?
Very engaging. He's got a great personality. Academic family. His dad's a professor at South Carolina State University. Right down the road here in South Carolina. And Nick's a guy, he's always got a smile on his face, and he's very, very engaging and full of energy for sure. And that's how he plays on the field, and that's how he is off the field also.
Hey, Coach, how do you think his game translates to the NFL?
I think very well. He's got such a skill set because of his size and athleticism. He really can do so much. And from a coverage standpoint, from a, whether it be playing man coverage, whether it be playing in a deep zone, whether it be being up near the line of scrimmage and being able to, come on pressures and affect the quarterback, whatever it might be, he's a physical guy that has tons of range. And I think, from knowing what Seattle does defensively and their background in that system, I think they like guys that are, multifaceted and can do a lot in that system. And there's a lot of places to me that you can put Nick in an NFL system, but especially with what Seattle does defensively, that he's going to thrive.
Coach, I'm sure NFL front offices, and for that matter, coaches, right? I'm sure that this is a trait you'd be interested in with a player, are always curious to hear if there's a moment of adversity that a player experienced and to see how he responded, because you want to know, what makes up a man and what makes up a player. Is there something along Nick's path with South Carolina where maybe as a team or as a player there was a moment that was just tough and you were able to watch and see how he responded?
Yeah, I would say two things come to mind. One would be his very first game as a college football player. So this is the opening game of the 2022 season. And we go into that game. We're playing Georgia State. We've got two senior starters at safety, two guys that have played a lot of football. That we went into that game thinking that Nick might play, 10 plays maybe in that game. But he was a true freshman in his first college game playing behind a couple seniors. And one of those seniors got hurt on literally like the first drive of the game. And Nick is in the game as a true freshman, and it was a close game for us that night. And he came in there and just thrived, started the next week, and started every game since then. So that's one. It wasn't so much adversity as it was getting thrown into a tough situation, and the moment wasn't too big for him, and he dominated it. And then I would say this season, early on, we had some back and forth games, and just the plays that he made when we needed him to make them. Week 2, we went to Kentucky, and that was a huge game for us early in the season. He had a interception return for a touchdown in that game. And then we had a couple tough losses, and we went out to Norman, Oklahoma, after we had just lost a heartbreaker to Alabama the week before. We needed a win. And in the first quarter, he just single-handedly took that game over. He had an interception, I think, on the very first play of the game. And then later in the same quarter, he had a interception return for a touchdown. And when we needed him, and we needed a win badly, he stepped up and made two huge plays against Oklahoma. So that's just kind of what comes to mind. We were dealing with some adversity as a team, and he thrived. And then in his very first game, he got thrown into a tough situation and thrived.
Coach, there are some guys, when I watch their film, they're so good and so fluid, it looks like they're moving in slow motion, but they're just so efficient with the way that they move. And that's kind of what I see when I watch film on Nick. What would you say is the best part of his game?
Yeah, I would say that. I think best part is, one, from an intangible standpoint, he's extremely competitive. No matter what it is, on the field or off the field, he loves to compete, and that shows with the way that he plays the game. And then I just think just the overall, size and athleticism. It's hard to find guys that are as big as he is, that run as well as he is, that can jump as high as he does. I mean, what he did at the Combine in Indianapolis was in a lot of ways has never been done before, and that's a testament to his athleticism. And to me, that's the best part of his game, to go along with the competitive spirit that he has.
The best part about him being in Seattle is he's already got the job. So nothing we talk about is going to keep the Seahawks from taking him. They are sold on this kid. But, Coach, is there a part to his game where you'd like to see him maybe take a step forward once he gets to the pros? I mean, now his head coach is a former defensive coordinator, right? He's in a great team for a defensive guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He's coming into a great situation because of the scheme they play and the background with the coaching staff there. There's no question about it. I think for him it's just experience. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that redshirted and played 4 years of college football after that. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a guy that's literally only been in college for 3 seasons. And he's been through a lot in those 3 seasons, and each year has grown. But I think the biggest thing for him is just to continue to make strides that come with the experience, and now he's getting the ability to, or getting the opportunity to do it at the highest level.
Hey, Coach, tell me about your program. We don't obviously cover South Carolina a lot. Being on the West Coast, I work for CW and ESPN, so we dab here and there with South Carolina. What is it about your program that helps create or help mentor guys like Nick?
Yeah, pride ourselves on being able to develop guys, whether it be, Nick Emmanwori, who was the first guy drafted for us. That's a young man out of high school that really the only other scholarship offer he had was Wake Forest. And then he came here and developed. Or you talk about the second guy that got picked for us was Demetrius Knight. He was the linebacker that transferred here from Charlotte and spent 1 season in our program and went from not being on really any draft boards to being a second-round pick. So I think just a place that we do a great job of developing our guys. It's a highly competitive program. We're all about competition in this program, and guys that, love football and love to compete, they're going to thrive in this program, and that's what Nick is and a lot of the other guys that have had success being drafted and going on to the next level.
Gonna get back to Nick to just a second here, Coach. He was mocked as high as the first round. I'd seen him mocked at 18 to Seattle. I'd seen him mocked a little bit earlier, so I am sure that you got many calls from teams, and I'm sure there's not a lot you can tell us about them. But was there maybe a common question that you saw, like scouts and guys that were really looking at Nick, asked you about or were curious about?
No, not really. I think when teams called, and you're right, there's a bunch of them that called, and I had another team that did not draft him. I mean, their general manager called me 3 times in the last week about Nick, and most of the questions, they can watch the tape and see what kind of a player the guy is. Most of the questions were more just from an overall, character standpoint, personality, all that as well. That's what most of the questions that I got were about. And it was all positive, but it's, again, they're just trying to find out everything they can about the person, and that's what most of the questions that I got were about.
South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer. Coach, you've been very gracious with your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
No, thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Have a great week.
Have a good one.